will notify you once you begin your broadcast. The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi all, good morning. Am I audible? Good morning, Asha. Well, let's wait for another 2 minutes and we shall go ahead. Excuse me. Hi, Sandeep. Good morning. Well, guys, let's start for the day. So, today we will be moving ahead with managing and monitoring your ARM virtual machines. So, It's all about, we are going to discuss on how you can attach a disk, what is storage, how you can keep your complete ARM virtual machines to be on a structured environment, right? So those are the key objectives today. And once again, welcoming you all for this module. Here we go. So this is the overall objective for today. We are to design and implement a VM storage. We are to discuss about monitoring the ARM virtual machines, managing the ARM VM availability. So this is, I guess, something which we have already discussed about the fault domains and update domains. Still, we will make sense in detail. And we will also speak about scaling the ARM virtual machines, how to do scaling on from your Azure Resource Manager portal. So let's go ahead and let's discuss about the storage. So a storage is an important key role that's going to work completely on Azure, not just on the virtual machine. You speak about anything that you're going to attach as a disk into your computer, or you're going to give it as a data warehouse, right? Or you're going to give it as a database, let's say even a data lake store or a data factory, or it could be even for a big data analytics that you're going to take it over. In all these means, we need the storage, which is going to play a major role on it. So a storage is going to be working here on a virtual machine as a disk. Okay, it will be a disk which is going to store your OS files, which is going to store your application files, and even your data. Now, the point here is you can even attach your own disk. Okay, let's say that I need a secondary disk to be attached. Yes, I can go ahead. I can go for the VMs and I can attach a secondary disk. So, in case if it is at on premise, I need to buy a hardware. I need to put it attached towards my server machine, and I need to configure it again. This is a matter of which takes a long time, and it's also going to move ahead where you're going to invest on the same. And in case if you again want to buy, or if you want to enhance your disk storage capability, then again you're going to buy an hardware. So to overcome all these things, we have the storage on the virtual machines where you're just going to attach the disk. And it's not just a matter of attaching the disk, it also helps you when you move ahead, speaking about like I need a supported file system format for my machines. I need to share the files between my machine and the other cloud machines, or even between the on-premise machines. Yes, you can do all those things over here. So all VMs, all Azure VMs will have two disks. Okay, one is a OS disk, and the other one would be your secondary disk, which we call it as temporary disk. It is recommended that you should not store any of your files on the temporary disk. There are lot many chances the data will get missed, the data will get lost when you store it on your temporary disk. So it's ideally you should put it on your primary one, and you have two disks. Remember, in your VM you will be having a OS disk, which is a Windows one or Linux one, and the other one would be a temporary disk. The third one is your OS disk, which is created from the image that is supported by Azure. Let's say, for a better understanding, when you create a when you create an, let's say I'm going to deploy a Windows 10 on my local machine, I would be having an ISO image, right? And I can boot it on a pen drive or something. So that's an image which I have it, and I can push that image towards the storage which I have it on my laptop, right? The hard disk which I have it on my laptop. And here it is also going to be the same. I'm going to have an image where the images are available on the repository of Azure. So it's an OS image. I'm going to call the OS image, and I'm going to install the same on the VHDs. Okay. I'm going to put over the image on the VHDs over the storage account. The next comes your VMs, which can have more disk that we have already discussed. Okay, so you can even take a backup on a VHD format and you can attach it towards other virtual machines. So a disk which you're going to attach can be either enabled or disabled. I mean, attached or detached from a machine, and you can attach the same towards another virtual machine which runs on Azure. Here you have the disks which are used by a particular VM. Let's consider you're going to spin up a Windows Server VM, and your disks will be like this. You will be having three disks. One is your operating system disk, which will be having a maximum capacity of 2048 GB. Okay. and the secondary disk is your temporary disk. So the middle one that you can find, right? The disk 2 is a temporary disk, and you're not recommended to store your data over here on the temporary disk, whereas you can put all the files, let's say your on your data or something like that, on the third disk which you're going to create. That's your data disk. Now, all these disks which you create will get stored on, you see, normally in your storage you have four things as blobs, files, tables, and queues. And here, whatever the unstructured data that you're going to store, right, all these things get stored as a blob. So you will be having Azure Blob Storage, which will be a maximum size of a blob container, which is 500 TB, and there you are going to have all your data. The next goes your OS disk. The OS disk is your nothing but, let's say, simply speaking, your VM files, right? Or let's say your OS files that you have. You would be having something called program files, isn't it? And in the program files, you will be loading all your data. And that's the same over here. You'll be having something called as a OS disk, and in your OS disk, you're going to put up all your, let's say, the virtual machine image, and it is registered with SATA, and you will be having it as a C drive where you're going to have your program files onto it. This disk will be having a maximum capacity of 2048 GB that you can find it on the screen. The next goes your temporary disk. You can use your temporary disk on a short-term basis. Let's say you have a short-term storage for application, okay, that has to be processed, and you will be removing it once when you're done with the processing. In those case of scenarios, you'll be going for I mean the temporary disk. So the temporary disk will be having the file, okay, as a D in format, or you can even put it on any of the I mean the drive letters that you need. So as I told you earlier, it's going to be lost, okay, during maintenance event or anything. So make sure that you don't put your disks, I mean your data, which should be having it a persistent. I mean, let's say that it has to be for long term, then you should not put it over here. Let's make a sense about the data disk in long. Okay, your data disk is the one where it's going to store your application or it's going to store any of your data. Let's say I run a server machine which has an application that has been pushed on towards my IaaS, and I have a database there. At the end, the web user is going to add the data as first name, last name, course name. He is going to take it up. Okay, so when he uploads all those things, it has to get saved on towards my data disk. Okay, it has to get saved on my virtual machine. In that case, I'll be using a data disk over here. So your data disk is where it's going to store your data. It's going to keep all your records on a virtual machine. So the data disk has SI drives, okay, and they come up with the letter of whatever you're going to choose it. It can be either with a cache of read or read and write, or it can be of anything else that is none. There you can mention it, and you can again attach or you can detach it. Each disk that you're going to create will have a maximum capacity of 4095 GB. So as you create it, you're going to pay for it. I mean, let's say you're going to allocate it for 10 GB, then you're going to pay only for 10 GB. If you say that it's going to be 4095 GB, then you're going to pay for the whole. The next comes the size of the virtual machine, which determines how many data disks you can attach it. So when you create a VM, you should make sure that how many sizes, I mean, how many data disks it can support with. Okay. So those are the things that you should have in mind when you're going to attach disk. Any questions? I could see one person who has raised the hand. Harsha, any questions? Guys, are you there? What is the purpose of temporary disk? Okay, Harsha, the temporary disk is where you're going to store all your files, like let's say I mean the normal temporary files, right? You're going to put up your data, let's say for a temporary basis. You're going to create a file which is going to be like a system preparation file or anything. Okay, I'm speaking about the temporary one. I need to spin up a database, a server file, or something like that. Those things I can put it on a temporary disk, but not the files like the algorithm which contains like Bootstrap or a database oriented stuff. Those things I should not put it on a temporary disk. Are you clear? Cool. Sandeep, we will go for the demo. Don't worry. Okay, we will perform the demo for each and everything. Let me go step by step. Okay. Yep. So here we go with the disk caching. So the disk caching is something where it holds the data for certain moment of time, okay, and it will help you to make tasks like either you can read or you can write data from the hard disk. So this disk will have the data for a certain period of time, okay, and it can give you access for either reading and the write operation. You can also set the cache to be off if your operation is dependent upon that you don't need any cache to be performed as such. So let's go ahead and we shall perform the same. I'll go to the Azure portal now. Chandu, good question. Where do we find how many disks can be attached to the VM? This I already discussed by day one. I will still show you. Okay. Sizes, configuration of VM on Azure. So you go here, right? You can find, give me one sec. Yes. Can you find it here? Chandu, can you find this disk size? It says for P4 it can help you only with managed disk. So you have the series here which speaks about. So you need to make sure from this link. Is that okay? You can even go for this VM types and size. Okay. The normal thing what you can do is, wait, I will show you. We are going to create a VM now. So let's create a VM in the server. Let's mention it as lab VM. Either Reka resource group or let me put it as for my better understanding, I will put it as CodeSizzler resource group, Southeast Asia. Hey guys, please make sense here. You're getting the size which gets loaded up. Okay. And you can find the column called data disk here. Chandu, can you find it? You have data disks here. And this says how many data disks can be attached for your machine. So you can attach 2 disks or you can attach 4 disks. Are you clear, Chandu? So this is where you can find it easily. Okay, in case if it is not in Azure portal, then you should go for docs.microsoft.com and there you can find it. Well, so let me go ahead and I'll try creating a machine which will be for, give me one sec. Let's find a cheaper one. Okay, I will go for this one, D1 underscore V2. Okay, so let me select this D1 underscore V2 and I will click on select And here in the settings, I will go ahead and I will say that the port number should be 3389 RDP. Let's click on OK. And I'm going to create this VM. So let's wait until it gets deployed. Meanwhile, let me know if you have any questions, please. So, meanwhile, I just want you guys to make sense. Okay, when you put up your virtual machine, right, you need to go for the second blade, the size which you are seeing. I guess the Chandu, right? He asked for a question, the sizing. So you go there and you should plan your storage size capacity. Okay, what size you're going to use as such. Okay, now it's a point like you should make sure that you will have the size as a flexible one. I mean, at least for the current production environment which you're going to use. Okay, maybe in later you can scale it up. That's not a problem. You can put it on Azure portal. Okay, either on the Azure portal or even from PowerShell. You can scale up your disk configurations. You can scale up your size of the virtual machines. All these things. But when you put up for the first time, you need to make sure that you will come up with a better sizing, which is called as storage capacity planning. The maximum storage account capacity that you will be getting is 500 TB. Okay, and for a page blob, you will be getting 8 TB SH. Let's say if it is going to be for a single blob container or anything, then it would be 500 TB. Okay. Hi, Joyrup, can we add a VM in scale set later on? Yes, we will be doing that, Joyrup. We will be working with VM skill sets as well. Don't worry. So let me check if it has been spinned up. I'll go for resource groups. I have this. Yes, I have this lab VM. Okay. And here in this lab VM, you can find it has been created. And when I scroll down, you can find disks here. Can you find disk here? Okay. So this is a disk which has been created. Okay. The disk which we asked it by the time when we put up a machine. Hi Rajiv, if we can deploy B1 machine with two hard disks, later we can add more data disk. Can we? Yep, you can do it, Rajiv. It's also possible. Yes. So now let's go ahead. Okay, we will try creating with our disks. Okay, and exploring the storage, all these things. I just want you guys to make sense. Instead of showing it on slides, it would be better if you could see it on real time. So now I have one data disk. Okay. Now the other thing that I will be doing is I can go for. Wait, I will show you this link. I will even share it to you guys. You can go for docs.microsoft.com/Azure subscription service limitations. Okay, so you have limits for each and everything. Just to, right. So when you come here, can you find this number of storage accounts per region per subscription? Okay, and the maximum storage account that you get it. So this all depends upon the subscription what you have. Okay, either it supports for LRS or it supports for ZRS, all these things. And the next point, what you can do is, I was speaking about four things. Maybe I'll make a note of it. See, I was discussing four things here. Edureka, ARM, right? ARM virtual machines module. So I was speaking about storage, and in the storage, I told you we have four things, which is blobs, okay, files, tables, and queues. Now the blob is for the unstructured data. Okay. So whatever you have created here, right? Whatever you can find it here, it's on a blob. The next part that we are going to speak is about you will be moving ahead with your files. So the file is nothing but it is a shared storage service. Okay, a file is for a shared storage service where you can share the data between the on-premise machine and the cloud machine. Okay, so you can put it across, like let's say I will create another VM in the meanwhile. Okay, let it get deployed. I'll go for Windows Server 2016. I'll say that the machine is going to be Edureka VM, hard disk, demo user. I'll put it on Edureka resource group. Okay, see, it's a different resource group. I'll click on OK and let me go for a leased machine. Let's say B1 standard. Let's click on select, and the inbound port will be 3389. Let's click on OK. And here let's click on read. So let this get deployed. Okay, and the meanwhile, I will speak about attaching the disk, all these things. Okay, so now the disk caching is nothing but you go for the normal one. Okay, or let's first finalize this file service. The file service is where, as I told you, you're going to share between the on-premise machine and the cloud machine, or even between different cloud machines. Now, this is a MacBook. Okay, so forget about this. I'm going to consider a scenario where the machine which gets deployed now, right? Consider that as an on-premise machine, and the machine which was already deployed will be your cloud machine. So I will show you how you can manage the files between a file share, okay, and the file which is, I mean, the drive which is at cloud, okay, on the VM as such. Now let's get back to your questions. How many subscriptions are there in Azure? Rajiv, subscription normally comes up like pay as you go. Okay, you have Visual Studio Enterprise, all these things. The subscription either also depends upon if your company is creating it or you buy it from your the normal pay as you go mode. Okay, so you cannot name it as I have this many subscriptions or such. It's up to you. Like let's say you can buy an Azure Pass or you can even buy an enterprise account. Okay, so Azure will not come up with a measurement saying that we have only this many subscriptions or such. Maybe if your client is giving you, that will be a tenant subscription. Okay, it depends on how you're going to create it. Is that okay, Rajiv? See, I have a subscription called as Raj. Give me a sec. Can you find this subscription Azure Pass? I can also have this, or I can go for Visual Studio Developer Essentials. I can go for Visual Studio Enterprise, or even this I can share it for others. I can just go for subscriptions. See, I will show you here. You go for all resources and go for subscriptions. And from this subscription ID, I can share the subscription for others. I can go for access control. I can share the subscription for others. Is that okay? Are you clear? Yep. Well, now I will go for the disk caching. Okay, the one which we were speaking about. So what I can do is I will go for the resource groups and for the lab VM. Right, this is my lab VM, and here in this VM I can go for the disks. So I will go for disk here. Okay, and here I will attach the disk. So someone was asking about adding a 10 GB. Let's go for 10 GB itself. I'll click on add data disk. I'll name the disk here. Click on create disk. Okay, and let's name it over here. I'll name this as uh, CodeSizzler disk. Okay, and resource group, let it be on the same one. Location, availability zone, and account type, either it's going to be hard disk or solid state one. Source type, it's going to be none. Okay, or you can even take it from a storage blob or snapshot that you have performed. Size, I'll say it's 10 GB. Okay, you get the IOPS limit for that, and you click on create. So this will get created now. Let's wait for it. Yep. So can you find this? You have the storage account, the 10 GB. Okay, encryption, which is not done. Okay, this is the important thing that we were speaking about, the host caching. Okay, so this will say that you have three options here as none, read only, or read and write. Okay, all these things. So when you select none, you're turning off the cache. That is, your temporary disk will not be cached if you select none here. And if you're selecting read only, it is, let's say it will be useful for database servers. So that will not store data to disk or anything as such. Okay. So you can use it for either at the read only, that the data is not going to store, I mean, not it's going to allow for anything as write operations. And the next one comes is your read and write. So the read and write is where the disk will be having the caching option, which is given by Azure. Okay, so as of now I'll just go for none. Okay, and I'll click on save where it will get attached. So let's click on save. So once when you click on save, it gets updated, and after updation you can find here as your data disk. So it successfully updated virtual machines, and here you can find there's one data disk. And if you want to add up more disk, you click on another add data disk, and that will get added up. Is that okay? Any questions? Okay, cool. Now I have a question for you guys. What is the estimated performance of this disk? You had two things, right? You had something called IOPS limit and you had something called throughput limit. What are those things? Are you there? Hey guys, are you there? Okay, fine. I'll come up with the answer. Okay. See, IOPS is something called as input output operations, okay, per second. And the throughput is the amount of data that it can act on the particular disk, okay. So that's a disk throughput of up to how many MBs it can write it on a particular VM. I mean, either read it or it can write it, okay. And the IOPS is the operations that it's going to perform on that particular disk. So you can achieve up to 80,000 as a maximum, but still it depends upon which sort of data disk that you're creating it. Okay, so it's all commonly the performance related measures that you're going to take it up. Yes, yeah, Chandu, you came up with the answer. Performance related measurements. That's right. So it depends on the performance limitation. Okay, and it differs on each and every data disk that you're going to create. Well, let's go for the next part. So I have created the disk, all these things. Now let me get into the VM so that you can find the disks. Okay. So we shall go here, the overview, and I will connect for this VM. Let me copy the IP address. Can I attach the disk created to any of the VM as well? Yes, you can do that, Chandu. You need to detach it and you can connect it here. So let me go to the local server first. I'll turn off this IE enhanced security configuration, right? So now let's go for the local machine. So in this local machine, let's go ahead and yes, over here. You can find there's temporary storage, there's a C drive, but not the data disk which we have attached. Okay. So I'll go for this files and storage services. I'll go for disks. See, you can find 10 GB here. Okay. So let's right click here and you go for new volume and provision this. So it's going to be 10 GB one. Drive letter, you can specify it here. Which file system you need, okay, you can call that here and click on create, so it will create a volume. let's click on close here, and now I will go ahead. Okay, so let's close this, and here you can find the 10 GB. Okay, the 10 GB that you have. Any questions? What would be the default time zone in Azure VM? Azure, the default time zone is based upon the data center region where we have deployed it. Okay, so this disk can be attached only to one VM at a time. That's right, Chandu. How can you attach for different machines? Only one for at a moment. Okay, let's go ahead for the next thing. Any questions on this? You can use the disk even now, Karthik. You can put up your application over there, okay, and you can use it even now. Not an issue. Any other questions? Okay, I hope we are good to go for the next one, right? Right. So now, just temporary storage is always 50 GB. It depends upon what size you have created, Vipul. I showed you the second blade, the size blade. Okay, there you need to check with it how many it supports or such. Chandu, if I want to see the files on the disk, do I need to always log into the VM? Is it? No, you no need to log into the VM every time. You can just go for storage here. Okay, see, we have storage accounts, and see, we have the disk CodeSizzler. Go for blobs. You can find the files here. So as of now, I have just the boot files. Is that okay? Cool. Fine. So the next part is your file sharing, which I was speaking about. Okay, that's your you're going to share your files between the on-premise machines and the cloud machines. So consider now I have a machine. Consider this machine, Edureka Resource Group, and I have a machine called as Edureka VM. So let's get connected for this VM. I will just go for this. It's a new VM, Edureka VM. Let's wait for the VM to be booted up. Okay, so now I'm going to perform the same. Let's go for clicking on new. I will turn off the IE and security configuration here. Since this is a basic machine, it's slow. Let's click on OK. Hey, Chandu, you cannot do that. Okay, it's Chandu, right? Yep. You cannot access the content of the disk without attaching it to its a VM. If it is just like an unstructured blob type, it's okay. But if it's encrypted, you cannot do that. So now I will go for this C drive, I mean this PC, and here you can find we just have the C drive and the temporary storage. Okay, we don't have file sharing here. So what I'm going to do here is that I will go for the Azure portal now. Okay, so in my Azure portal, I will go for storage accounts. I already have storage account, so I will go for any of the storage account, and you can find files here. Okay, so I'm going to work on file share service. Let's go for this files, and in this file you can click on file share to create it, and let's name this file share. I'll name it as CodeSizzler files, and the quota could be for 10 GB. I'll click on create, and it gets created now. So the file share has been created, and when you click on the file share, you can find it here. See, can you find this connect? You can go for connect, and you get a drive letter. Okay, and you also get a command here. So let's say I will copy this command. This command comes up with the drive letter, the storage account name, file, okay, and the access keys for that. So the access key is normally the key which says that the access, which gives you the access for the particular storage account. I can show you here. See, let's go ahead here. You have access keys, and you will be having the storage account name and the access key. So that's the same what I have it even right now. Let's go up here, and you can find, see, I will open a notepad. See, this has a drive letter, okay, and this speaks about the storage account. It has a storage account key as well. So let's copy all these things. I will say that I'll be using a drive letter which will be O. So I'll copy this. I'll go for command prompt, and here I'll try to run it. So it says the command has been completed successfully. Okay, and when you go for this PC now, you can find CodeSizzler files there. So that's a file share. Now I can go inside this. I can even create a new, let's say, a folder or something. Okay, I'll create a new folder named as Edureka, and here I can paste some files. Let's say a text document. Okay, and the same I can find it here. You can come for storage accounts. You go for the storage accounts. You go for files, and here you can find CodeSizzler files. And inside that, let's click on refresh. You can find Edureka, and inside Edureka you have the document which has been created. So this is the same concept which works with iCloud or your Dropbox, your Google Drive, all these things. You should have seen it on your local machine. You would be having it in your this PC, and it gets synced with your machine which you have. Okay. Any questions? Someone has raised the hands. Hi, mate. Any questions? Okay. Can we take snapshot of file shares? Yeah, you can take the snapshots as well. It also supports for that. File share can be accessed from on-premise also. Yes, from even from your machine you can access it, Rajiv. Once when you have the storage account name and the access key, you can access from any machine. I sure hope your question is also clear, right? Good. Okay. So the next goes your encryption. Okay, we have done with all these things, the disk caching, all planning the storage capacity. We were speaking all these things. Okay, the next is about the encryption. The encryption is where it's going to encrypt your data. So your storage service will encrypt your data, and the data which is going to be returned in the Azure data centers will get decrypted automatically when you try to access it. Okay, so that's what we call it as encryption. What you can do for this is you can just go to the Azure portal, okay, and you need to go up for the storage account that you have, and you can find encryption here. Okay, you can click on encryption. So here you have encryption, and you can just say that I'll be using encryption here with your own key. Okay, now it's currently encrypted, so you can create a key vault and you can encrypt it. So let's say enter key URL, you can give it over here. Okay, let's say I'll give it as CodeSizzler. Sorry, key URL. It should be on HTTP, or let's say key from key vault. Let's create it from here. Create a new key vault, and this key vault will have all your encrypted things. Okay, you can set the policies here. Who can access it? Okay, or you can say whether the VM can access it or not. Enable access to Azure VM for deployment. Enable access to ARM for template deployment. Okay, you can give the access to all these things over here. Any questions on encryption? So the encryption plays on who can access the data and whether it has to be encrypted or decrypted. Well, the next part over here is the one which you have about alerts. Okay, there are two types of alerts that you have. One is your monitoring based alerts, and the other one is your custom alerts. The monitoring based alerts is it happens on your virtual machine. You can set it as when the disk goes higher in usage. Let's say it's going to be the CPU percentage is going to be more than 75 percentage on consumption. The metrics in or the metrics out is going to be higher. In those cases, you can perform alerts. You can say that I need to get a notification that my CPU percentage is going high in consumption, or the network in network out as such. Okay. The other option that you have is the custom alerts. You can say when someone is trying to inject your SQL database, or when someone is trying to put up a vulnerable attack towards your virtual machine or anything like that, then you should get an alert. Or you can even take up an action by using run books, okay, or by using the logic apps, anything as such. So that's the two sort of alerts that you have it on your Azure portal. Okay, so it can support for any sort of virtual machines, and for that you need to go up with configuring the alerts on the metrics blade. So let's go for the Linux VM here, and to move with the demo of configuring alerts. Okay, so let's go for the VM. So my VM is lab VM here, and I will go for, see, I will scroll down. You can find metrics. Okay, you can go for metrics. So you find all these things over here. See the virtual machine host, what sort of metrics you need. Either you need a CPU credits which are consumed, or the CPU credits which are remaining. Okay, you can get all these things over here. I will say that I need the CPU metrics which is consumed, and I can find it over here. So this is the normal alert that you get. Okay. The other one is the custom alert that you can set it up. So you can set it up on a resource group level also, or you can set it up on a particular virtual machine. So here you can find the resource virtual machine, okay, and even it on a resource group, anything that you need. So this will display a graph. You can find it on the screen. It will say how much CPU credits you have. Okay, all these things. You can export it to Excel, or you can even connect with Power BI to do business analytics operations. The next part that we have here is about the custom alerts that you put it across. So here what I will do is I'll just go for alerts and I've added an alert here. You can find new alert rule. I'll say new alert rule and let's create a rule. Okay. So the target is going to be on this machine. So let's select the target. Let's select lab VM. I'll click on done. Next is your alert criteria definition. I'll say the percentage of CPU. You can find all these things here. Okay, the OS read write, data conversion. Okay, let's say CPU percentage. And for last 6 hours, I need a history, and I am going to set a condition which goes greater than one threshold. Then it should process a message. Okay, it should process a message. So let's click on done. Yep, it's all done. Right? And next, I'm going to move here. I'll say the alert rule name. I'll tell it as rule 1. This is a demo alert rule for Edureka. And severity level, you can set it over here. Let it be the default 0. Here you're going to enable the rule, okay, upon the creation. And next goes your action group. If you need, you can specify what action it has to take. Okay, I'll say new action group. You can give the action group name, all these things. If you have a logic apps, I can even call it over here to perform the action. So that's other thing. Let's click on select action group. Okay, I don't have any. I'll create a new one. Activity log alerts to be created, okay, when it performs. And action type, it will be a email, CodeSizzler, mail, and I will go here. I will say it's CodeSizzler mail. I need it via email, so the email ID is going to be CodeSizzler India at outlook.com. I can even perform SMS where charges will be applicable for that. And if you need, you can also put up a push notification. So let's click on OK, and I'll again click on OK. It creates a new resource group for that. The subscription has to be registered for Microsoft Insights. Okay, let's do that. I will go for all services and I will go for subscriptions here. Please let me know if you have any questions. Stop me. I will go here and I need to align the resource. Okay, so I'll go for my permissions, resource providers. So it is for Microsoft Insights. It's getting registered. Okay. So once after it gets registered, here it will get added up. You can find the error here. Sorry, not this one. Yep. Creating alert true. Okay. So this creates the alert rule named as rule 1 now. Can you set up alerts for resource group for another one? For example, alerts for CodeSizzler resource group. Lab VM is being monitored from Edureka resource. Can you set the alert rule for all VMs from center location? Rajiv, this you can do. Okay, you can write automation and you can set it for all VMs. Okay, the better option is that you can put it on VM scale set and you can manage it if it is on for a particular resource. Image, your question is, can you set up alerts for resource group from another one? For example, alerts for CodeSizzler resource group lab VM is being monitored from Edureka resource group. Sure, I will do that. I'll go here. I'll go for the resource groups, Edureka resource group. I'll go for alerts. I'll click on new alert rule. I'll select the target here. So it's going to be your CodeSizzler VM, right? It's a lab VM. So I'll select this lab VM. Okay. Let's click on done. And next, let's add criteria. CPU percentage again. It goes greater than one threshold for a period of last 5 minutes. Okay, that's all fine. Let's click on done. And here I can mention see rule 2. I'll create a new action group named as okay image group. I can put it on either any of these things. Okay, I'll say I will put it on, as you said, let it be on Edureka itself. Okay, and action name rule 2 action. I need it as email rule 2 email, and this time it's going to be for Rinky K2 at outlook.com. And here let's click on OK. Yep, it got created. And I'll click on create alert rule where it will get added up. Is that okay, email? Yes. Any other questions? Okay, so that's about your alerts, okay, and the metrics that you can perform, and you can also visualize the data that you have, okay. So it's all about creating customized alerts, visualizing your data, okay, your patterns, all these things. Now, let's move ahead and we shall go for diagnostics. Okay. So the diagnostics is where, see, the slides is all about what we have here. Okay. We are going to perform custom alerts. The next is about the diagnostics that you're going to do. So let's go for diagnostic settings. I'll go for the lab VM itself. And I'll go for diagnostic settings. You can scroll down and in the monitoring, you can find diagnostic settings. Can you find this diagnostic settings? You can go here. So this diagnostic settings will help you to make sure whether the boot diagnostics, all these things are at on or is it off. Okay. So you can just say enable the guest level monitoring. Hi Rajiv. Yes, SMTP reply is already enabled. You're right. Hasha, I haven't checked for it. Okay, but sure we will be getting an alert. I will open the mail. Let me complete the topics. Okay, I'll open the mail and I will show you guys. Yes, Rajiv, SMTP has been enabled. Oh, it's getting enabled. Okay, let's wait for it. Without logging on VM, if I want to view the files, I have to go to storage account something. You have blobs there, okay, Tarek, but it will be encrypted. Okay, if you have encrypted, then you will not be able to see it. You need to log in there. Okay, so here let's go ahead and you can find we have event logs, we have performance counters, all these things. Okay, so particularly I will go for boot one. I have boot diagnostics. Okay, so you can click on this boot diagnostics, view boot diagnostics, and you can get the screenshot. See, it has taken a screenshot and it has the logs as well. The next part that you have here is you have the boot metrics also. You can scroll up, you should find boot metrics here. Performance counters. One sec. Since performance counters. This is the boot metrics. Okay. So you have the metrics here. I mean the basic metrics that you have. Okay. So it says about the CPU. Boot is nothing but the basic one, right? So it's like the CPU, the memory, the disk network, all these things. And you get a time slot. Okay, for 60 seconds once it writes across. And next you can go for logs. You can find the logs here. Okay, it takes the event logs. If you want to store it towards a storage account, you can also do that as well. You have the crash dumps, which can collect memory. Okay, if you want, again, you can store that. You have the syncs and you have the agent as well. So this syncs the diagnostic settings, all these things. Any questions? So this data, see, I'm storing all the information from my boot diagnostics, and that data you can find it on your storage accounts. So I'll go for disks here, and I'll go for this OS disk. And okay, here I cannot find it. Let me go for storage accounts. I have this disk which I have created. Let's go for blobs, not this one then. Yes, can you find this boot diagnostics that we have? Is that okay? Any questions? Okay, cool. So the next part that we have here is about configuring your availability sets. Okay. Are you guys are familiar with the availability sets? Do you remember the key points that we were discussing on? So this is all the critical task what we had. Yes, and to discuss about this one. Okay, the scenarios which affects the regular functioning of the VM. So makes sense. See, the Azure portal will have a technology called live migration. Okay, which helps you to migrate the VM which runs on a hardware component to any other physical healthy component. So you need to make sure that there are two things you have, that is your unplanned maintenance and the planned maintenance. So the unplanned is like when there goes a migration which is unexpected, then you need to ensure that you will have all these things which has been performed, okay, which has been done on your level of, I mean, like you should have other disks or other, no, I cannot say it as disk, but the other nodes which will be functioning to ensure that the domains will be available for your customers. So there are two things as planned maintenance and unplanned maintenance on your availability sets. So ensure that you will go for the planned and unplanned maintenance to be configured. Okay. So this has to be given when you create a VM. I'll now create a VM and I'll show you how you can go out for the availability sets. Okay. Guys, please stop me if you cannot understand. Do you have any questions? Yes, Tarak has some question. What is lease state? Hi, Tarak. Lease state is about like when you lease a blob, okay, you will get a lock towards a blob. That is, the blob will not allow the other person. Let's say you have a group of people who are going to use the virtual machine, and the others or the other resources cannot access the blob to modify the data what you have it on that. So you can set a temporary lease or you can set a infinity lease over there. Let's say for 60 days, okay, you can put it on seconds or minutes or hours, something like that, or an infinity lease in the sense nobody can access it for any time. So that's what we call it as lease access. Is that okay, Tarak? Any other questions? Can you guys brief me what is availability set? Because I have been already speaking about availability set in my previous demos. Yep, join up. Okay, there's no response. I'll go for the availability sets. So I'm going to create a resource now. Okay, consider I'm going to create a VM. I'll say that it's going to be a Windows Server VM. And I'll name this VM. I'll say this as AVVM. And it will be having a hard disk. The username name is demo user password. Let's put it on the same resource group what I have here, Edureka resource group. Let's click on OK. I'll go for a B1 standard one. Let's click on select. And here I'm going to speak about availability disks. Okay, so let's click on availability set. I'll click on create new, and here I'm going to mention two things, which is about the fault domains and the update domains. The fault domains will be working for you when there's going to be some unexpected things that's happening. Okay, unplanned maintenance. So when there's going to be a socket failure or let's say a power failure, okay, in those cases, fault domains will work for you. Update domain is when you are going to update your machine. Okay, consider you're going to update your machine, and in that case, your let's say the patching works and it gets rebooted, the machine gets rebooted. In those cases, your update domains will be working for you. So let's say I'll create it as availability set here. I have given the domain counts, fault domain as 2 and the update domain is 5. Let's click on OK. Let's click on OK again. Oh, the port RDP 3389. And now let's click on create. I should wait for it because I need to show you guys the availability sets, how it has been created. Guys, let's not waste time. Meanwhile, are you people trying the demo? You have any questions on the previous slides which we had? Yes, I have created files in VM. Good, correct, but unable to see under blobs. You should find it under files, not under blobs. I told you the difference between blobs, files, and tables, all these things. Please check it under files. Okay, so let's go for the resource groups, and I will see whether it has been created. So, Edureka resource group. Yes. Can you find this availability set, AB set, right? And you go here, it's getting created. You can find the update domain count is 5 and the fault domain is 2, which has been associated towards this particular subscription and the resource group. I can even use the same for other VMs. Okay, so that's what we call it as availability set. So if, let's say, if there's going to be a patching work that happens, okay, what it will do is, I have already briefed you guys, it will be like racks. Okay, wait, I will show you availability sets initial. See, it will be like this. Okay, you have fault domain A, fault domain B, fault domain C. So when you say fault domain is 5, when this rack gets failed, the other rack works for you. Okay, so see, all these racks will be connected towards the same common power socket, and the update domain is nothing but when this update domain first rack, okay, consider this first rack, when this gets updated, the second what you find, your update domain C, will be available for your customers. Okay, so that will ensure that your customers are always available to access the data. So that's about your availability set. And let's go for the next topic. Let me know if you have any questions, please. Any questions on this availability set? Excuse me. Okay. Now, the next part that we are going to move ahead is about setting high availability. Okay. One thing that you can do is that you're going to put up a availability set which will ensure that you will come up with high availability. The other option that you have is that we are going to work with something called load balancer. So the load balancer will work within the same data center region, okay? And the load balancer will ensure that your data load is distributed equally for all the VMs which are available under a particular availability set. So what you need to do is you need to create virtual machines, let's say a couple of virtual machines which runs with the same data, and that has to be connected towards the same availability set, and that availability set will be called on with your load balancer. So your availability sets is one sort of high availability. You have availability zones to protect your data center failures. And then you have the load balancer, which will combine the availability sets and it will ensure that you get the high availability. So you should have multiple VMs on availability set to ensure that you will put up a load balancer. Okay. So this is what I was discussing about. You have the fault domains. Okay, let me complete this explanation once again, and then I will go for the load balancer. The fault domain is where consider here you have two fault domains. So fault domain 0 and fault domain 1. So when this rack gets failed, the next one is going to be available for you. Okay. Whereas the update domain is going to be like this. You can find it. See, it's on a horizontal manner. So when this rack gets updated, the second rack will be available for you guys. Okay, and the update domain and the fault domain, there are no chances that it will happen at the same time. Okay, Rajiv, if you're done with the fault domain and if there's going to be a power failure, still you will be able to access it. That's what I'm speaking here. The fault domain is what it speaks about. See, when this rack gets failed, socket failure is nothing but the power failure. When this rack gets failed, the fault domain 1 will be available for you. Is that okay? Can we add two VM in backend pool of load balancer without having availability set? Yes, you can also do that. That's possible, Joyra. Okay, that's fine, Rajiv. Well, let's go ahead. So this is all about your fault domains and the update domains. I'll just move ahead with the load balancer. Okay. So we shall go for another virtual machine creation. I'll say a web server. Rajiv, you can, Joyrup, you can call it using the DNS. You're going to configure public IP, right? You will configure the public IP and using the public IP also you can call it. I'll be doing with the availability set, okay, right now. And if time permits, I will also do it for you, okay, the load balancer. If not, I will share the documentation for you on that. Is that okay, Joyrup? But as a proper infrastructure, the major key point is that you need to ensure that you will put it on the same availability set and then you will call it in a load balancer. If not, there's no point on creating a load balancer at all. Okay, so let's name it as Edureka VM1, sorry, AV set 1 disk. I'll select B1 standard. And here I will call the same availability set. Okay, so let's go for availability sets and I will call the same AV set. Let's go for 3389 and I'll click on OK. Let's click on create. Let's wait until it gets deployed. Harsha, by default there'll be no availability set which will get created. You need to create it on your own. Do we have inventory feature in Azure like CMDB? Inventory feature like CMDB in Azure. Okay. Are you speaking about multi-region, those things? Yes, that we have it as what we call the availability zones, right? Yes, we have it as availability zones. You can find it here. Here we call it as availability zones. Okay, so that process you high availability across the data center regions. Just makes sense over here. Okay. Yep. Other question. Tarek, check for your subscription access. Have you registered for it as such? I showed you, right? You should go for my permissions and you should check for it. Go for subscriptions. You have resource providers. Sure, Tarek. Go for all services. Okay. Go for subscriptions. Azure Pass. I mean, you will be having your subscription name. Scroll down. You can find my permissions. Sorry, resource providers, and check here whether you have registered for it or not. You have a register button here. See here. Yep. Yes, Jora. Okay, I hope my VM is created. Let's check it here. Provide a resource group. Okay, let's just filter it here. I have one as AV VM and another one as AV set one. Okay, both of them are using the same. Okay, I mean both of them are using the same availability sets. So now what I can do is that I will go ahead and I will search for load balancer. Let's click on create a resource and I will search for load balancer. So you have a load balancer here. I will click on the load balancer. Let's click on create. And here I'm going to create a load balancer. Okay, so let's name the load balancer first. I will name it as, let's say, CodeSizzler load balancer. And you have two types. Okay, you have an internal load balancer and you have a public load balancer. You can use internal load balancers to balance the traffic from the private IP address. Okay, public load balancers can balance the traffic which gets originated from the public IP address. So here what I will do is I'll just go for the public one, and the next one is your SKU that you have. Okay, so here you will speak about either it's going to be on an internal network or the private network, all these things. And the public IP address, let's choose it over here. So you'll be having two types of network which is supported by the load balancer. One is your internal one, and the other one is your public one. The private network will provide the private IP for the services which is running within the Azure subscription. Okay, while your public network will help you to get connected even for let's say the machines which runs on AWS cloud or anything as such. So let me go here and I will say that I will choose a public IP address which will be here using the existing one, and I will call the availability set one. Okay, I have two things, availability VM and the availability set one. I will call availability set one. Oh, it says that has been already created. Well, let's go for new one then. I will name it as CodeSizzler for the public IP address. And yes, it's going to be a dynamic one. The dynamic IP, this means that every time your VM restarts, your VM will be assigned with a new IP address. Okay, so this restart may occur either from your end as a user, or even Microsoft will also do a restart when there's going to be a critical update that's going to happen. And the static IP is a maximum of 5 free static IP address or allowed. So when we go for the static IP address, you're going to pay for the 5 static IP address which you're going to allocate it. And the next is that resource group. I'll use the same existing resource group here, Edureka resource group, and I'll click on create to get it created. Yeah, any questions? Sure, Asha. We shall break for after this. Okay, let me complete the load balancer and then let's break. Okay, the load balancer is deployed, and now let's go for the backend pool. Okay, you can go for the backend pool and you can click on add. So let's add the machines now. I am going to name the backend pool as demo BP, just demo backend pool, and it has been associated towards availability sets. Now there goes the question of JoyRub. I guess it's JoyRub or Image. Someone were asking about what if I'm not creating a virtual machine, right? I mean availability set. So you can click on single virtual machine and you can call the virtual machine here. Is that okay? The one who asked it, JoyRub, right? Yes. Okay. Now I will go for the availability set. I will just click on this availability set and I will call the one which we created. So we have two VMs there. So I will call this. Yes, Joyrab, for two times you need to do this. And here I will add a target network. Okay. So I have called the availability set and next I need to add the target network for the same. Let's click on adding a target network. And here you should select the VM from the target virtual machine drop down. So let's call this VM first and I will call the network IP of it. And next I will call the other one as well. The second VM, yes, and the IP address of it. Now let's click on OK to get it saved. So once when it gets updated, you can find the updated backend pool over here. The other things that you need to do is you need to go for the health prop, okay, and you can set the timer, all those things. Yes, Joy, for 2 VM you need to do it. Okay, so here you can find we have the backend pools, and in the backend pools you have two VMs. Okay, and in the overview you can find the IP address as well. You have the public IP address which has been assigned. The other things that we need to do is you have to set the load balancer rule. Okay, you need to set the health props, all these things, which you will see in the upcoming. Now we just want to make sure how you guys can understand about the availability sets and connecting it with the load balancer research. Well, let me know if you have any questions. Any questions? Okay, if you're using load balancer, then both VMs should be identical. Yes, of course, Vipul. Are we going to see how this works practically? Yes, Chandu, in the upcoming webinar series, we'll be seeing it, how we are going to work on it practically as such. Okay, we have a demo where we are going to compare the traffic manager and the load balancer. So don't worry. If you're so curious about it, go here. Okay, I mean, if you want to learn it before the webinar, okay, go here. I have exam 7533 Azure. Okay, I have IaaS. And here you can find configuring the load balancer, this document. Okay, you get it from here, please. We have it on the further modules, but okay, if you need, you can wait for it or else you can grab from there as well. Well, guys, let's break for some 15 minutes and we shall join again. We still have one topic which is about VM skill sets. Okay, so let's join for VM skill sets after this. I will also speak about this architecture after the break. Okay. Shall we start, guys? Yes. Okay. So here goes the architecture that you can find in a load balancer, right? So you can see that we have the pool member. The pool member is nothing but your virtual machines which are available on the same availability sets. Okay. So I have multiple availability sets here, and what we do here is that I mean one availability set with multiple virtual machines. And what we are going to do here is that you have a load balancer which works with two things. One is a public level load balancer, and the other one is an internal load balancer. The public level load balancer will go up, speaking about the things that we have, which is going to communicate with the internet, and at the other side, it's going to communicate on the internal level. Okay. So here, what will happen is that when you send a request, the load balancer receives the request on a public facing, and the internal load balancer distributes the traffic among the servers what they have within the same availability sets. Now you can also put up individual virtual machines. Okay, in case if you're going to spin up individual virtual machines, you need to move ahead. You need to say that each and every virtual machine has to be called individually on the backend pool. So once when there's going to be more number of capacity, I mean more number of users who are going to call on a particular virtual machine, what will happen here is that it will go beyond the capacity and it will distribute the traffic towards the next server machine which is on the backend pool. So there you need to mention the health props, you need to mention the NAT rules. NAT rules is for security reason. Let's say in a scenario you don't want to focus on getting your things to be done for your exact port address which has to be given to your customers. You need to put up some dummy port number, then you can go for the load balancer one. Okay, so the further things that we have here is you can find the load balancer rule which comes up with a TCP, you have a FTP and the UDP one as well. So the transport layer protocol will distribute the traffic either on the IP mode or in the TCP mode, something like. So when you describe a particular backend pool, you will ensure that you will come up with things saying that this is going to be the address which has to be allowed, this is the address which has to be denied. Okay, those things has to be mentioned over here. And the load balancer will work both on the layer 4 and the layer 7. It's going to distribute the requests based on the data that you're going to push it across on the HTTP. Is that okay? Any questions? I hope you can understand the architecture, right? So your Azure load balancer will distribute at the layer 4, okay? And it's like it's going to get the incoming traffic and it's going to distribute with the virtual machines. The virtual machines will be available within the virtual network, okay? Or it can be even at cross premise. I mean, like between the on premise and the cloud, okay? It can also distribute over there. And to remember, you should have the IP address. If it is static, you can go up to five static IP addresses. Okay, and you need to represent all the five static IP addresses, saying that this will be the IP address ranges, and you will be paying for the five static IP address. Or you can even assign the dynamic address. And in the health props, you will set the timing, and in the backend pools, you're going to call the virtual machines. Here goes the features of the Azure Load Balancer. So hash-based distribution is where you come up with a hash number, okay, and depends on the hash number, it's going to distribute the load between multiple virtual machines, and that will be having the source IP, the source port, the destination IP, and the destination port. The next comes your port forwarding. The port forwarding is when you want to call the port, let's say that you're going to give the control over the inbound communication, then you will mention it over here. Okay, you will be having the internet host, you will provide the virtual network, all those things. Okay, and you can do the port forwarding. The automatic reconfiguration is you can go with Azure Load Balancer where you're going to reconfigure when it comes for scaling up the instance or it has to scale down the instance. Okay. It can also spin up new instance. That is, you can call the load balancer within a virtual machine scale set. So that is also possible. And you can do the service monitoring. Let's say you have a group of virtual machines, and for those group of virtual machines, you can also do the service monitoring. And ideally, the NAT rules, the source NAT rules that you're going to give here is for the security reason that you're going to speak. Okay. So when there's going to be unhealthy instance, then the NAT rules will ensure that it distributes the traffic again. So this is all the points that we have already discussed that you're going to mention it. Okay. And we are done with it. Well, so let's go up with the VM skill set. And before that, do you have any questions? Harsha, Joyrap, Vipul? Okay. Vipul, Joyrap? Okay, all good? Cool. Well, so now let's go ahead with the VM skill sets. The VM skill set is where you're going to group up the virtual machines. Okay, you're going to create number of virtual machines, and you will keep it on the same identical set. Okay, the machine is all going to be on the same size. Okay, same configuration, and you will give the metrics that once when a particular percentage of CPU consumption or network in, network out, anything as such goes higher, then you need to scale it up as such. So you will give those details over here. You need to say that it can use load balancer to distribute the traffic within the virtual machine skill set. Or the other way is that you can also speak about, like, you can use an application gateway, okay, which can exactly go for the particular location where your data is available, instead of dropping the request on each and every virtual machine. And the other point here is that you have the scale out and the scale in operation, which can be performed automatically, and you can use the same availability set for all the scale out and the scale in virtual machines. So your auto scale in virtual machine skill set can either increase the number of instances or it can decrease the number of instances as per the configuration what you're going to set. And it's going to reduce the monitoring head. I mean, you're not going to monitor it. Azure will take care. Okay. And you're going to define the rules based on the performance metrics or the application response that you have. And then you will also speak about the disk input and output, and the consumption, the performance, all these things. Let's go for deploying this VM skill set, and let's work with the auto scaling as well. So let's go for create a resource, and I will go for virtual machine skill set. Let's just search for skill sets, virtual machine skill set. No, Joyrop, you cannot do it. So the question of Joyrop is, I have VMs already on my infrastructure, and I want that to be added on towards my VM skill set. Can I do that? No, you cannot do that. That's not possible. Let's click on create, and here I've named the VM. So let's name it as CodeSizzler VM skill set. And here is the image. Let's create, I'll put it on the same resource group, Edureka resource group. Location is your data center location. Availability zone. So you have multiple availability zones. Okay. The availability zones will ensure that your availability sets will be available on all the availability zones as such. So let's say if one particular data center region, data center zone goes down, you will come up with the data which will be available on the other data center zone. Consider India. In India, you have South India, you have West India, and you have Central India. So when you say zone 1, zone 2, and zone 3, it's going to be available at all zones. Okay. And if you say none, the availability zone will not be there except your availability set. Your availability set will be there to ensure that you have high availability. Let's go for demo user, the password here. Yes, one more important thing. Your availability zones are available only within few data center regions. See, let's say I'll select zone 1, zone 2. So it says it's not supported here. The size is not supported. So you need to ensure that as well. Okay. So I will go for none here. Instance count, let it be 2 as a default. ds1 underscore v2. Deploy with low priority. Okay, here you're going to use the manage disk and unmanaged disk. And here you're going to say either it can go beyond 100 instance on scaling. It can go up to 1000 instance. Okay, the maximum is up to 1000 instance. And you can say auto scaling to be enabled. It's going to have a minimum number of, see, this is for auto scaling. This is not on the scale set. The scale set by default, you'll have 2 VMs. And beyond that, you're going to say that the minimum number of VM it should have is 1. And the maximum number, it can be up to 5. When the CPU percentage reaches 75, it has to increase for 1 VM. Okay. And when the CPU percentage goes lesser on 25, then it will decrease by 1. So you have a scale set, and in the scale set, it is going to increase. Let's say there are already 2 VMs and it has reached 75% each. The other third VM will get spinned up. The maximum it can go is up to 5. Okay. And totally what you would be having here is, here you are saying that the maximum number is 5, and here you're saying it is 2. So there will be 7 VMs which will be working for you. And for networking distribution, you can use either application gateway or you can use load balancer. The load balancer will stream your traffic, okay, on different virtual machines. The application gateway will distribute it, okay, on the web-based traffic level, which is on HTTP or HTTPS. Let's say I will use a load balancer here, and I will give the IP address name. Let's name the IP address as CodeSizzler public IP, CodeSizzler DNS. Okay, and let's click on create. So it will get created now. Well, it's getting deployed. Let's go for resource group and we shall check it. So you should be able to find it here. See, you can scroll down. You can find CodeSizzler VM scale set, and that creates a load balancer called as CodeSizzler VM scale load balancer. So you're not going to configure the backend pool or anything here. Okay, it's all in the hands of Azure. Okay, so now I will go for this scale set. I hope it's okay, it's still getting created. And you can find there will be an IP address which gets allocated. So when you develop, let's say you are going to develop a particular application, and from Visual Studio, you should use this IP address for which you're going to push the application in. Okay, and sizes you can find it here. You can go for size, and you can find the size which you're using. So as of now, we are at B1 standard. Okay, if you need, you can scale it up. So this will be applicable for all the size what we have. And further, you can also find the alerts that you can put it for the entire VM skill set, and you have the metrics, all these things also. Is that okay? So you guys are into implementing Azure solutions, so you don't have the content of how to push the application in towards your virtual machine skill set. That comes under developing Azure solutions. Okay, so this is what you guys have it on implementing. If you guys need to know about how you can push data in, then please write me a mail or write it for support so that I can get back to you guys. Write for support at edureka.co, they will help you to know. Okay. Hey Choirab. Now the load balancer is connected with one availability set which has two VMs and one scale set. So it will balance the load in between two VM and one scale set. No, see here I have not created scale set availability sets at all. I have just created the scale sets alone. Okay, so the VMs within the scale sets alone will be managed. You can find it here. We have two load balancers. I will click here. See. The one which I am using for availability sets is CodeSizzler LB. And the one I am using for VM scale set is CodeSizzler VM SCLB. Yes, you can also do that ideally. Yep, that's possible. Cool. Any other questions? Well, so by that we come to the end for this module. Please try the demo and let me know if you have any questions. Okay. So we were working with your VM skill sets, we are working with your load balancer, okay, all these things. See, here it goes. Take a note of these links. Okay, you can take a screenshot or whatever. This will help you to know how you can deploy your VM skill set using a template, okay, or using let's say from the Azure portal or PowerShell, anything as such. So take a screenshot of it. Is there any no VM in CodeSizzler VMs now? Sandeep, we have VM there. Wait, I will show you. I'll go for this load balancer. Okay. See, I have a pool which has virtual machine. It's still getting created. Okay. Still, you can go here. You can find the instances. You click on instances. It's getting created. Okay, I have one instance which is running. As it gets added up, it will keep the instances which will be hooked towards your VM skills. Sorry, the load balancer. Is that okay? Yeah. Any other questions? Yes, Chandu, these VMs will get created automatically. You have provisioned it, right? You said two instance, three instance count like that. So this will get provisioned as per that. Well, guys, recording will be available for this session. Yes, Sandeep, it will be available. Uh, Meanwhile, what you can also find is you go for the YouTube and you can even find it there. Go for the channel CodeSizzler, or you can even subscribe it to get the notifications. They put it over there. So go for CodeSizzler, and in playlist you can find this implementing Azure solutions. Okay, so there you will be having it. So we have module one, module two. Okay, the module three and the module four, I will keep pushing it inside that. See, we have module three also. Okay, I'll keep pushing the modules. We don't have demo for auto scaling. Harsha, auto scaling is what happens on your VM scale set. Yeah, Chandu, it's not in Google Drive, it's on GitHub. You can download it from there. Harsha, auto scaling is called as VM scale sets over here. Okay, you cannot perform auto scaling here. See, I will just give you the definition for virtual machine scale set so that you can understand. Can you find this? It allows you to provision. You have up to a limitage of usage and replacement group. And if it gets exhausted, it can spin up for new instance automatically. Is that okay? Cool. So by that we come to the end for this module. Okay. So as a summary, we were working with this disk caching, encryption, okay, load balancer, VM skill set, all these things. So do go ahead. Okay, let me know if you have any questions. Please fill the feedback forms. Okay, and let me know if you have any questions. Okay, I'm telling you again and again. You can write me even. Just put it on your support@edureka.co and ask them to connect to me, okay, so that you will get in touch. And yep, for GitHub, you go for github.com/CodeSizzler. Okay, so go ahead with this. Well, guys, so let me know if you have any questions. May I have your mail ID? Yeah, Jairo. Can we have any small project kind of thing at the end of the course? Sure, Rasha. See, you have something called case study. Okay, you need to go for the case study and you need to complete it and you have to submit the same. You can find it on your LMS. We have something called as case study. I hope you can see my screen. See, they have given a project for you. You need to develop for this and you have to submit the same. Yes, that will be increased, Sandeep. You're right. Okay, guys, by that, we come to the end. Do let me know if you have any questions on the mail, okay, or write to support@edureka.co. And thank you so much for joining on the weekends. See you guys by tomorrow on the next module, right?